Yeah. So basically, as we talked about in the previous session, this is going to be our session, especially mainly devoted to project. The project that we are going to develop is called as invoice management. So what you need to do is you need to devote your time at least a month to develop this complete project. This is really going to be something interesting for all of you when you are developing. And this project is really going to test the complete logic, the complete knowledge that you have gained throughout this session. Be it custom events, be it LMS, be it lightning data table, be it modal, so many things it has basically. So you really need to think through, you really need to put your mind here, and you will be able to get this project completed. Okay. So this project is kind of having so many things, as you could see here in the indexes. As you know, the project name itself says invoice management. So basically, you have to develop a software which is responsible for managing the invoices, the multiple invoices. Okay. What are the entities that are involved? What are the objects that are involved? So there are 3 standard objects, 4 custom objects. Company, company is basically nothing. Account has been renamed to company. So you need to rename the account to company, or you can keep account, and that is completely up to you. Similarly, customer is contact. Product is your standard product component. Then we have got invoice, a custom component, line item, payment, and refund. These are 4 custom objects. If you see here in the data model, you've got company that can have multiple invoice. You've got customer, that company can have multiple customer. A customer will have multiple invoices. And similarly, one invoice can have multiple payments, one invoice can have multiple refunds, and one invoice can have multiple line items. And line items is related to the products. If you talk about fields, there is a complete Google sheet. The fields are also available here into the document. So on the account, these are the 2 custom fields that you have to create. On the invoice line item, on the invoice, you have to create these many these many custom fields. But there are some fields that are roll-up summary field. So before you go ahead and create roll-up summary field, you need to make sure that you have created these invoice line refund and payment and refund objects. Similarly, these are basically the details about your roll-up summary field. So these are the roll-up summary fields that you have. And then, okay, is it fine? Can you hear me, everyone?
I'm good to hear.
Okay, Rohit, is it clear? Okay. I think, Sweta, you might want to drop and then rejoin quickly. Or there might be some problem on your, okay. So you could see here now, this is basically tax amount, a roll-up summary field. So all details are here available. So you really don't need to break your head out there. What should be roll-up summary field and all those. All the field screenshots has been provided here into the document itself. Then you have got invoice line items, payment and refund fields. These are basically all about having the multiple fields, multiple objects within your org. Now let's come to this requirement part. Okay. So there are multiple requirements, like it says user can create invoices under accounts. Just a simple liner, I'm going to explain you. There cannot be more than 5 active invoices at a time under the account. So this is something you have to write the apex trigger here to prevent. If there are 5 active invoices, you cannot basically create 6th invoice that is active. If the amount of the invoice is greater than $5,000, it will automatically be sent for approval to the org admin. And if the invoice is rejected, then send the email to the invoice owner. And similarly, if the invoice is approved, send the invoice to the invoice owner. And here you have to use approval process. Now, if you see here, the project tries to cover the concept of apex trigger, the concept of admin, where you have to create the approval process. Then On the account record, it should display the amount of open invoice, overdue invoice, and paid invoice. So basically, there are different statuses on your invoice object status field, and you need to create these different fields like open invoice amount, overdue invoice amount, paid invoice amount, and then populate those using the Apex trigger into your account object, whatever the account is related to that invoice. Then user must be able to record the payment against each invoice, and user cannot record a payment that is greater than the invoice amount. That means if your amount is of $100, you cannot record a payment that is of $110. And similarly, when you are creating the refund, you're creating the refund for an invoice, you need to check what is the payment amount, what is the payment that has been made against that invoice, and that amount should be refunded. And if there is no invoice, you should throw the error that, sorry, if there is no payment has been made, you should throw the error that there is no payment associated with this invoice. Then you need to create a batch Apex to delete all the invoices that are created in the last 1 year. So you need to delete all those invoices that are older than last 1 year. So let's say I have created some invoice today, and then same day in the next year, the previous invoice should get deleted. Send a reminder to the customer 3 days before an invoice is due and 1 day after an invoice is due. That means you need to send the reminder, and that you could do with the help of scheduled flows. Okay, so again, this is basically testing your knowledge on the flows. Okay, you need to apply the flow knowledge. User cannot edit the invoice if the invoice is paid, so you cannot really edit it. That means you could use validation rule here. User cannot delete the account record if it has related draft invoices. So if you have some draft invoices under any account record you wanted to delete, user cannot really delete it. Now you must be thinking the project the trading we have taken in, that is in LWC, and the project is talking about is completely on Apex and admin. So if you're thinking like that, bear with me, and you will at some point you will think the project is really complex. Okay, then user cannot. That's what up to here number point we talk about so many Apex and admin things. Now let's talk about starting from Lightning Web Component. On the home page, users should be able to see all the invoice records related to the account he or she owns in the table format. So you need to create a Lightning Web Component, display all the invoices related to the accounts that a user is owning. So let's say if I have in my org, there are total 100 accounts, and I as a user owns only 10 account record. So I should be only able to see the invoices related to those 10 account records in the form of table. Okay, and clicking on any invoice number, it should take user to the invoice detail page. That means your invoice number should be clickable, and you click on that invoice number, it should take you to the invoice detail page. On the account detail page, the user should be able to see all the invoice records related to that account in the table format. Now the same component needs to be enhanced in such a way that when you are opening any account detail page, it should only display the invoice related to that account only where you are in. And then again, the same clicking on any invoice number should be same, like it should take you to the detail page. And user should not be able to create the invoice from the invoice new button, and user should see the component sitting inside the account detail page. So basically your invoice could not be created from the new button of your account, not of your invoice object. User can only use account detail page for creating the invoice record. Now how you are going to do is, you need to override the invoice page, the new page. Okay, so once you override the invoice new page, so if someone clicks on new page of that invoice, this is how your component looks like here. It should say new invoice, and it can say you can only create invoice from customer detail page. Click here to navigate to company page. And if someone clicks on this particular link, it should navigate to the account list view page. Then override the invoice detail page. So we talked about, right? Someone clicks on the invoice number, it should take the user to the invoice detail page. So this is where your invoice, this is how your invoice detail page should look like. Now here you need to pay attention. On the top, your invoice detail page should have the path. And this is a custom component that is reading the invoice status field of your invoice object and displaying the path here. We have already seen how you could display the progress indicator. Okay. And then it also has few buttons called record payment and record refund. So you also need to keep in mind that this is something you also need to have. Then below this component, this is again another component which is displaying the complete detail about invoice into different columns. This is where you need to use lightning layout with the different buttons like edit, clone, and delete. Then you have to display invoice lines in the form of table with the actions. Then you need to display the total detail about your invoices. Similarly, the payment and the amount has been paid. Refunds, the amount has been refunds. And then at the end, you need to display the comments. On the clicking on any of these delete button, the invoice records, the line item record should get deleted. If you click on add lines, a new line should get added below here. And then the user should be able to provide the details, and clicking on save lines button, this line should be saved. Any questions so far?
But for line number 4, we can try with the lower.
Sorry?
I think just go up. I mean, try please number 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we can up extra there. I think the second one.
Which one? This one?
No, second point.
Okay,
Apex
this one.
Yeah, alternative. I mean, you can try to close.
So basically, if there are 5 invoices, active invoices means if there are the status of your invoices is paid or like if the status of your invoices is not paid. So if there are more than 5 invoices that are not paid, that means either they are in draft or they are in progress or in approval or approved status. The user should not be able to create 6th invoice unless all the invoices are paid.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I mean, I got this case. I was just asking. I mean, can you try with the close?
So, sorry, your voice is really breaking. I can't understand.
Fine. I'll message.
Okay. So we're talking about button functionalities. We have seen that there are quite a few buttons here in the UI. So what should be the functionalities? Record payment and record refund. So if you click on record payment, it should open a pop-up to take the details for creating the payment record. If you click on record refund, it should open a pop-up and take the details about taking the refund. Okay. Now here what you have to do is says when the user clicks on any of those buttons, it should open the modal, create a record and fire the LMS, which will refresh this page. So now here you have to create an LMS whenever any refund or payment has been recorded. Okay. A record payment button only should be visible when the invoice is approved and has at least one line item. And similarly, record refund button should be visible only when there is at least one payment recorded. That means if there is at least $10 or whatever the payment has been made. Okay. So that's what we have. Add line items that we talked about. If you click on add line items, there should be a new row added here. Edit, delete, clone, delete, and void. Void button will display over here on the top. I will show you. So if you click on edit, it should open the edit modal. If you click on clone, it clones the invoice. If you click on delete, it deletes the invoice. Yeah, and then if you click on void, it changed the status to void here. There is a status called voided. Okay. Now these are some of the notes that you need to keep in mind. Like while recording the payment, the amount cannot be greater than total invoice amount. Similarly, while creating the refunds, the refund amount cannot be greater than the amount the user has paid. These are some of the notes that you need to keep in mind. Now invoice create page. So I am basically now not going to walk you through all these what it is here. Okay. I'm going to walk you through the complete functionality, and the document is here. So you really will be able to understand, and this document is basically for your reference. Okay. So I'll just walk you through with the project, the complete functionality that we have. So this is my org where I have implemented this project. Again, disclaimer, this is not a complete project. This is just the structure to showcase you. 90% functionalities are working, 10% functionalities are not working, and I don't have any plans to implement that functionality. So first of all, let's talk about homepage. So we talked about this should be our Lightning Web Component, where it will display all the invoices related to the logged in user, the user who is logged in, and owning all the accounts. So if I am owning 10 accounts, I should be able to see the invoice related to those 10 accounts only. Okay. And on clicking on this invoice number I talked about, it should take you to the invoice detail page. That particular linking is not here in the table. But if you see, what all you need to display is company, bill to contact, status, total line amount, invoice date, and due date. Due date should be turned to red color if the due date is greater than not greater than less than of 2 days date. So if our date is less than of 2 days date, the color of due date should be red. And there should be some actions here, show details and delete. If you click on show details, it will take you to the invoice detail page, the selected invoice you have selected. This was the first part of your table. The second part was if you open any account, the same table should be here sitting on your account detail page, and this time it should only display the invoice related to this account record only. These two functionalities are clear. Okay. Then we talked about creating an invoice, right? Invoice detail page we'll talk later, because first we need to create the invoice. So we have this tab here sitting on the account detail page itself, says add invoice. And if you see, this is my complete invoice, like creating the invoice here. So this is my customer. Customers are basically the contacts related to this account. So when you search for customer, it should only display the contact related to this account only, the account you are in. So I have got, I think I've got more contacts, but these are the two contacts it basically initially gives me. So if I select any of the contact, it is displaying the details for the selected contact. So that's what you need to make sure. If you select any of the contacts, you need to display email to, contact to, and address. Okay. This is on the left hand side. On the right hand side, it should display invoice details with the invoice number, invoice date, due date, comments, from address, and reference number. And then there should be a saved draft invoice, and these are the invoice lines below that. So if I provide something like, let's say invoice reference is this, invoice date could be any, I'm just putting some random values over here. Okay. Okay, so some random values are here. If I click on save draft invoice, it will throw the error because these are the required fields. And that's how it should happen. If I don't provide any value for from address and click on save draft invoice, it will throw the error to me. So I need to just provide all the values. Now, if you see here on the invoice lines, right, we have got item name is the column, description is another column, quantity, unit amount, tax type, tax, and these are some of the columns which are here. So if I go to item name and if I search for any product here, so it is going to showcase the product for me here. Okay, I can select the product and I can provide the description about whatever I have. Then you could see here the other amount, the other fields like tax amount, total amount has been pre-populated. Now let's see if I change the quantity to 2 and say unit amount as 100. So as soon as I change unit amount to 100, it has changed the total amount to 200. Then similarly for the tax type, I have got a pick list value. If I click on GST and if I say some value like 18%, and you could see the tax amount has been calculated over here. And then it gives me the total amount and tax amount. And if I click on add more line items, I can see there is another lookup populated and I can select the product. I can just provide some values. Quantity could be 1, price is 345. I got this. Okay. Now if I click on save lines, I will see the error message which will say save the invoice first. And if I click on save draft invoice, it's going to save a draft invoice. I'll get a success message and I'll click on see it here. It will take me to the invoice detail page. And if I click on save line items, it will not work because this functionality I have not implemented. Okay, but I'll show you that there has been a new invoice created and that should be here, number 4. So if I refresh this page, you could see there is an invoice called 19. This is the one which we have just created, invoice date. Okay, now if we click on show details, it will take us to the invoice detail page. Now this is again your custom lightning component. This particular component is a separate component. This one, this is again a separate component. This particular details part is again a separate component. Okay, this part which says invoice header or something else, it could be anything, which has 4 buttons like record payment, refund payment, preview invoice, right? So as we talked about record payment, if you click on this, it's going to take the input from you and create the payment record. And if you click on record refund, it will take the input and create the refund record for you. And if you click on preview invoice, there is something going to happen. So if you see here now, I've got this add line buttons. If I click on this add lines and then search for some product, I'm just going to similarly have simple values here. Okay. And then if you click on save lines, it's going to save the product here because I have implemented that functionality here in this page. Okay. So I've got this. You could see here everything has been populated. And now if I go here and click on record payment and maybe say some amount that I wanted to record and click on save. So you will see the payment has been reflected here. Total amount paid has been reflected here. And if I click on record refund and refund some record, you are going to say the refund has been populated over here. So you will see that values are populated. Every single thing is going to populate here in your detail page. This record payment and record refund button does not have that validation that we talked about, but you must need to put that validation here in order to basically enhance your skills in a much better way. And you will see the details are going to be populated here as well. You could change the status to your invoice, like selecting this particular whatever values is there. Click on update current value. It's going to change the URL here. Okay. And you are going to see that URL over here as well. Sorry, the value over here as well. So this is on the detail page of your invoice. You click on edit. You will see that edit part of your invoice. You click on clone, you will see the clone part of your invoice has been opened. And if you click on delete, your invoice is going to get deleted. I am really not going to click on delete. Okay. So that is basically what we have. I think, okay, I think we accidentally closed that invoice. That's fine. Yeah, here it is. So any questions so far? We are going to talk about this void invoice and we are going to talk about this as well. Any questions so far?
Yes. So here, what my understanding is invoice and invoice lines, two separate object, right?
Yes.
And is there any validation, right, when we are recording the payment? So for example, right, you created the first line item. So like suppose total amount is like 1210, right? So is
Mhm.
it like possibility, like suppose there are 5 line items, right? So when we
Okay.
are recording the payment, it should match the existing any of the line item, or it can be less also.
It can be less. The payment can be less, but it cannot be greater.
So in
So
that case,
it
like,
should be less than grand total. So
but
whatever the total is.
yeah, so for example, what I mean to say is, like suppose we can have invoice lines as maybe 5 line items, but payment can have 10.
Payment can have 10, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now this void invoice button is there. If the status is not voided, if you want to void the invoice, you could click on this button. Your status is going to change to voided. This particular part is not refreshing. If you want, you could implement that functionality for refreshing that page using LMS. If not, that's fine. Okay. So you see here now the status has been changed to voided. I'm going to change to paid because not paid. Let's say pending. Okay. So now what we have here. So let's quickly add a couple of more line items because we talked about, right? If the invoice amount is greater than 5,000, it should auto submit the amount. It should auto submit this invoice for the approval. So I'm going to trying to make this greater than 5,000. Okay, so you've got it here. The record has been submitted for approval. I'll show you. So that is what's one part. Okay, now you've got this preview invoice. So if you click on this preview invoice, a pop-up should open, and it should open the preview in this format, where it will display the status image, whatever the status of your invoice is. It will display the details like the date generated by the current username who is generating, address, the address that is there on your invoice. Okay. Bill to, these are the bill to details, then invoice date, due date, and these are the line items. Now, how you generate is this is a web page. The links are like multiple links are there for your reference to generate web pages and all. And then this page should have 3 buttons. Can you confirm if you all see the 3 buttons? Cancel, generate a PDF and save, and generate PDF and email.
Yes.
Okay. So this has 3 buttons. Okay. And these 3 buttons has their own functionality. And what are those functionalities there? If you click on cancel, it's automatically going to close the pop-up. Okay. If you click on generate PDF and save, so what it will do is it will generate this PDF and save it as a file related to this invoice. Okay. And if you click on generate PDF and email, so it's going to generate the PDF, save that as a file related to this invoice, and also going to email. Email to whom? Email to invoice owner. Okay. Not invoice owner. It's going to email to this particular person whom we are billing. Okay. Basically, an email should send out. You want to send it to bill to, you want to send it to invoice owner, you wanted to send it to yourself, you could do anything, but the email should send, and PDF should get generated and saved related to this invoice record. So if I click on generate PDF and email, it's going to send the email, it's going to showcase me the success message, the modal has been closed. And if I go to my email, you will see an email has been sent to me. Okay, and it also had been sent to the bill to user. And if I click on this attachment, you will see that invoice is here. So you also need to send the email. You also need to see how you can send the email as attachment. So PDF as attachment. Okay. That's the one part. Now, next that we have is, if you see there are 2 tabs, details and related. If you click on related tab, you will see there are 2 different components. Let me refresh this page. So you will see that there are 2 different history here. Okay. Let me set as workspace tab. Okay. So you will see here, there are two different related lists. One is files and one is approval history. Again, these two are the custom components, custom Lightning Web components. Okay. The files is going to showcase you the all the related PDF invoices that you have generated using this preview, because we don't give any other option for the users to upload any invoice, sorry, any items, any files. Okay. And if you click on this file, it's going to showcase the preview here. Again, the PDF preview. If you click on the name of your file, it's going to take you to the detail page of your content document, and it will display the detail about your file. And it is also going to display the size of your file, when the file was created, who was the user created, and what is the type of your file. By default, it is PDF. And if I go ahead and generate one more, maybe let's say the invoice is approved, and I go ahead and preview it. And now you see the status has been changed. And if I click on generate PDF and save, and once we refresh this page, we will see there should be two files, because now it is querying the files related to this invoice. You see 1 and 2, and you will clearly see this is having a approved status. This is having a pending status. And there is a toggle. If you see display option, the current option is file tile view. And if you toggle this, it's going to display in the form of table. Again, if you click on any link, it's going to take you to the record detail page. And this table have some actions: show details, download, and delete. If you click on show details, it's again going to take you to the record detail page. That is about your files. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Okay, I don't see a question. Okay, I think there is some problem with this. What happened? Okay, I'll submit it for approval. So I just submitted this for approval. Our invoice, I manually submitted it, but in our case, it should get automatically submitted. Okay. But even if it is submitted, I don't see that. Okay, that's fine. I really don't see the details coming up here. Basically, it should come up. There has maybe some issues here. That's why it's not coming up, but that's fine. I'll showcase here. So basically, this approval history should display the history, the approval history of your record. Okay. The step name, date, status, and assigned to with the action over here. The details are there in the document. I've already added here. So yeah, here it is. For the approvals, right? So your approval history should get displayed like this. It will display whatever the step it is, like approval request to submit it. What is the step that you have created in your approval request, approval process? And it will tell us your status, whatever the status is. Okay. And as we talked about, right, there has to be an action here on the drop down, which will tell you, like, which will have a button called approve or reject. And this button will only get enabled if the status is pending. If the status is submitted, approved, or rejected, it should not display. So this button will not get enabled. How it should not get enabled, you see here. It should not get enabled. So what logic you need to put here is, you need to put the logic of dynamic actions that we talked about. And once someone click on this approve or reject, a pop-up should open, which will have the value like this: approve, reject, or recall. These are the buttons. There should be a comment, and after providing the comment, if you click on any of these buttons, it should do the respective action. Approve should approve the record, reject should reject the record, recall should recall the approval process. Okay, and all you need to do with the help of LWC and Apex. So that is what you have as a complete project. There are some resources that I have given. And if you have given me the link, or not link, the username, GitHub username, the complete project code, the complete sessions, whatever the training we have taken, the complete code is available in the GitHub. So if you have not shared your username, please do share with me. I'll share the code. And I'm ready to take the questions, any questions related to project.
Amit, like those, like suppose you are in PDF, right? You are attaching the status, like pending or something. So those static resources are also available.
Yes, those should be available in code. If not, then you can download. You can use any image.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Should say like approved. You could go to Google and search for approved
Oh,
image, and you'll get that. Okay. Any other question? I think we had Chandra had some question, right?
Yes, sir, I think I got that. I mean, so that's the
Okay.
second one. I was just talking about the Apex trigger, right? I think
Yeah.
we can try with the flows as well.
Yes, you can try with flows. That is fine.
Next one more question. And that files, right? So the custom object. The reason where is a custom object to just to override that existing attachment, like standard object.
Which
Attachment
one?
or files. Files. Custom object. Yes.
This is the standard object. It's not custom. It is a custom component to override the standard related list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amit, this will you have used, right? First converting to content version and then, right?
Which one?
The file section, right? So when you generate that, so is it like first you save that as content version, the whatever the content you have, right?
No, there is a standard. There is a standard component. I think it is force colon preview files or something in LWC. It takes the content document ID and it previews the component. There is nothing you need to code it for previewing the file, right?
No. I was just checking like how you are saving the record. So that's okay. I got it. Like you anyhow
So
you're
you're
passing the content version ID, right? In
so
previewing.
yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's what basically I was thinking, that you are generating some sort of content document and then same you are passing the ID. No problem. I'll check it. I got it.
Okay. Yep. Anything else? No. Rohit, you have anything to ask?
Amit, can you please, are you going to share this quick management access, right? That file description, everything, the
No.
project related document.
You will get the document, but not the quick access.
Okay, sure.
Document
Sure.
you'll get, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
I mean, not related to this, but I tried running the commands which you shared, right? For the local server.
Yes, those is basically I'm really finding it hard because I don't have Windows, so I cannot really tell what exactly the issues is, but I'm on it. I'm trying to see how I can basically get rid of that error.
Amit, like, Amit, do you have any basically link or something like where I can basically I can debug like for mobile, like we can set up Android Studio, because I checked few, but those haven't worked.
And Android Studio for normal use or what?
Yeah, basically we have some Aura components, so I have to debug. I have to basically install all those things. I tried, but those things haven't worked. Some YouTube video I watched, but those haven't worked.
So you wanted to use like you wanted to debug components, or you wanted to have like
No,
a mobile studio?
Yeah, basically components I have to debug. Like suppose some, like right now what I am doing is like I put every time alert. Like since I can't see that, like the logs, right? That which statement it is going, or I can't see.
Into the mobile, right?
Correct. So if there anything, because I searched,
for
but I didn't
mobile, for mobile you can do like this, right? You go to inspect, okay, and click on this icon. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, actually, like we did try this thing,
Okay.
but like sometimes it's not working. That is the reason.
Sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does work. And I think there is something called but debugging mobile, like component in mobile application, I have to check it because I never did.
Okay.
So I really have to check this. Yeah, I'll check and maybe
No
I
problem.
can
Yeah,
say.
that is the reason. Because like right now I'm doing like after every statement I'll put alert, then log into mobile and then see. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll see what we can do, or maybe Rohit, if you have something you can share.
Amit, similar to what we installed, right, for local browser, preview in local browser. If we have iOS or Android emulators, we can also fire our components into those emulators directly.
Okay,
like
so those are Google Chrome extensions.
No. So you have to install the whole Android Studio, and then it will create image of those mobiles. Similarly, for iOS, you have to install Xcode. It will create image of your iPhone. And then when you are previewing the component locally, right, you get the option of browser or emulator, something like that. At that time, you can then fire those emulators.
Okay, like I installed Android Studio, but you are saying, oh, I now I'm basically able to recollect, like when we go to that, when Amit was showing, there is some option is coming, like open.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so is it like we have to do any configuration if you have wrote something?
None that I know of, but then you can always search for
Sure.
Salesforce document. I think there is one.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah, I think they have something called hybrid or something.
I'll try.
Yep. So if not, then I think we can drop, and please feel free. Please do share the feedback, and you'll get the document in the Slack channel. So I'll share it right away. Don't need to worry about that. If you don't have access to code, please do share me your GitHub username, and I'll share the same with you.